Hello and welcome to this special edition of our campus debate series. This is the third in our series. We are in Amity University, Noida today. Beautiful big campus. We are with the students of the MBA courses, of course, also some other courses like BCom, and we'll be talking to them about what the budget really means to them. This year, the budget is going to be very difficult for our Finance Minister, Mr. P. Chidambaram. He's promised a balanced budget. He's also known to be a man who produces dream budgets. Now today, since we are in Amity University, Noida, with the students of the business school here, I'd like to ask them their views on what they really think, what the budget really is, how much they know about the budget, and what they would like and expect from the budget this year. I'd like to start by welcoming you all. First of all, thank you so much for joining us on RSTV today. I'd like to start with a voice vote. How many of you who are here right now really watch the budget speech every year? By a show of hands. I think that's about 40% of you who actually watch the budget. Now, what I would like to ask you is, if I would come to my friend over here right now, please introduce yourself and say really what you really think of the budget and what you expect from a budget as a future income tax payer of the country.
Okay, my name is Weber and I'm from MBA. I'm pursuing MBA. So, from my point of view, like as a student, I would like there should be a balanced budget this session from Sir P. Chidambaram, and it should be equal in entertainment, in studies, education, and everything should be balanced.
Okay, that's fair enough. That's a pretty pithy way of putting it. If I would travel to this side of the audience right now, I'd like to start by saying, since you are students, right? The education sector is important. Yes, you agree. Do you think in the last budget there were some loans, the interest rate from the education loans was decreased? Students really liked it. Do you think the education loan, that sector, particular sector, needs a lot of work? Who would like to speak on the education sector? This way, yes. Your name, please, and say what you want.
I'm Sandeep. I'm pursuing my MBA. As we see, last budget there is a decrease in interest, but you know the limitation without is only 4 lakhs.
Right.
Not more than 4 lakhs will be given by the bank, which not enough for a student pursuing higher education. And also, as a student, education is my primary thing.
Absolutely.
When we see, the budget is almost every time concentrating on primary education, but as we go for secondary education, there is no infrastructure. Or I had visited a government school recently, where one teacher is dealing with 6 subjects,
right?
Nearly for 7 to 8 sections, which is so difficult, and they will have only 1 class per day. This should be changed from the roots.
I think you raise a very important point there. Your friend over here says that infrastructure in education is something that we lack in the country. How many of you agree that infrastructure, primary, secondary and technical education needs a lot of work and isn't really up to international standards? Who agrees? Almost everyone agrees that infrastructure-wise, our country is perhaps lacking what we should. International standards are way beyond what we can't actually compare it to international standards. There was this one girl I talked to just before we started the program. She wants to say something on education. We're talking about infrastructure and education right now. Your friend over there says that there is one teacher teaching 6 subjects and they have 1 class a day. Infrastructure is lacking, obviously. What else would you like to see in the education sector?
I am Nisha Kumar and I'm a student of Amity Global Business School Department. Last year in the budget, they basically focused on the education loan, which was a relief to, as in the number of students. The thing was that, there was a special committee formed for education loan so that it becomes easy for the student. When we are expecting a very promising budget, as Dr. Manmohan Singh said, despite of having the economic crisis, we'll still have the effective management to bring us the promising budget. But we see that getting an education loan is as tough as getting a home in Delhi NCR or wherever we put up. The thing is that when we wanted to have a credit card, if we want to have a credit card, a car loan, something, it's just a call away. Why not the education loan? It's just that 60% of our country is below the poverty line. So, as I personally believe, when I went for the education loan, it was pretty easy for me because I know the manager very well.
Right.
So, in my point of view, taking the other's point of view also, the educational loan should be as easy as just a caller back.
You're saying that you got the education loan easy because you knew the manager. Thousands and millions of people across the country don't have that access really, right? So another important point by my friend over there says that education loans should be made easier to get for the rest of the country who don't have access to, say, people who run these banks, who run these branches. Very important point there. I want to come to this side particularly and speak perhaps continue this vein of questioning about the education sector, which is really important, obviously. And these are students, like I said, they're tomorrow's taxpayers. Yes. Do you want to say something on the education sector?
My name is Rajiv Singh. I am pursuing my MBA. The thing about the education sector is that our basic infrastructure is lacking. And we don't really have the kind of infrastructure that other countries have. The loan system over here is lacking, and there's a lot of brain drain happening due to that. Then most of the students want to go abroad and complete their higher education so that they are well equipped to match with the global standards. So first priority that should be there in the budget is that they should focus on higher education instead of primary education now, because it's high time they concentrate on the higher education, and they should make loans easier, so that people from India should stay in India and study over here rather than going abroad and wasting all that talent. We cannot afford that.
So Indrajit, it's a very important point that you raised. I want to ask you this. You said that the government should concentrate on higher education, perhaps not so much on primary education. But there is a view, and I would like to hear, you to hear this as well. There is a view that unless we rectify what ail our primary and secondary education system, there is no way we can actually go and try and keep our technical and higher education to that higher level. Do you agree with that?
To an extent, I agree to that. But the thing is that we have already seen this over the past few years. We are constantly seeing this, that there's a lot of money being devoted to the primary sector, primary education. But now we should balance it. We should contribute to the primary as well as the higher sector, because if that is not done, if we just keep on concentrating on the primary sector and we don't have enough infrastructure for higher education, we will not be able to become a global power, and we will not be able to match the world standards.
I think that's a very important point to use, Indrajit. You do have your views. Before I go into a small break, I would like another short voice vote. Who agrees that we need to rectify our primary system first, then go to higher education? And who says that we should go directly to the higher education and technical education and perhaps balance it around? Who agrees with the first one, that primary and secondary needs to be, yeah, that's about 30% of you. Who says that go for higher education simply and then go and direct your... I think it's a pretty even. Yeah, I think it's a pretty even. It's even Stevens right now on that particular issue. We'll take a small break right now. Don't go anywhere. Lots more to come with the students of Amity University in Noida on the other side of this break. Welcome back to the special edition of Campus Debate number 3. We have interesting views in Amity University, Noida right now. Some interesting views on the education sector. There are more sectors and more topics to come. But my friend over here wants to say something right now. Please introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi, I'm Himani Chitkara. I'm from AGBS Noida. I would like to say about agriculture. I would say that a government should reduce the bottleneck of the supply chain, because there are many intermediaries. Because of intermediaries, we are paying a lot for the food items, and I would suggest that government should find some ways to reduce the intermediaries and the bottleneck of the supply chain.
I think that's a very important point. Inflation is something that we are all struggling with right now. She mentioned supply side bottlenecks. Who else understands what supply side bottlenecks are? Show of hands. You do. Would you like to say something on what your friend just mentioned right now?
The government recently has allowed FDI in India in single brand and multi-brand retails. So I think that is why they've introduced this, because we have supply side bottlenecks, and if we get bigger and multinational players in this field, they're going to help us remove these bottlenecks, because then they will start sourcing directly from the farmers. They will pay them more. The middlemen, the time, the duration, and the money, the cost, everything will be reduced. So I think in that ways government is thinking implementation has to be done.
Absolutely. Implementation is the problem. I'll come to you right now. But who agrees that the government did the right thing when they allowed FDI in multi-brand retail? Was it a good decision economically and otherwise? Who agrees? Show of hands. Not many of you agree. That's surprising. You're business school students. But anyway, it's about 20% of you say that FDI was the right move to make, right decision to make. Yes, you wanted to say something.
Hello sir, my name is Pranshu. I am from AGBS. Even government has allowed FDI, but it is proposed only one single brand producers only. They have to allow multi-brands also, but there is some rules and regulations which the company is seeking right now, which is very difficult for the companies to enter in this Indian markets. And even the government has foreign institutional investors and invested in stock market is 7 billion, which is very less amount. So government should allow more amount so that we can enhance the growth of the economy.
Right. Just to correct you there, the government has allowed multi-brand retail. There are some riders there, but they have to follow that. I want to come to this side right now as well. We were mentioning before I was interacting with these students that the fiscal deficit of the country and the current account deficit of the country is a nightmare for politicians, ministers and bureaucrats alike. I want to get their views on what the fiscal deficit situation is and how really the government can tackle it. Who wants to speak on the fiscal deficit situation in the country? I'll come to you right now. You of course know what we're talking about. Do you have any suggestions for the finance minister or your reading of the situation as a future taxpayer on how to tackle the deficit?
First of all, good afternoon to all. My name is Mayank and I'm from Amity University. As you said, physical deficit is really a nightmare for the ministers, and that too again for us also, as we are the people of the nation. According to me, which is, I read it somewhere, that the government which gives subsidy to the people is about 94,500 crores.
Absolutely.
Annually.
It's a huge figure.
It's a huge figure. So it has to be slashed down, which has to be, which will play a big part to slash down the GDP, which will be a big impact for the country to come up and give it a blow.
So that idea is obviously there, but there are problems there, my friend. Who knows what the problem with slashing subsidies is? There is this political angle to it as well. There's the vote bank politics, and if they do it, they of course will, their allies will mind as well. Who wants to speak about the deficit? Anyone else? I think you wanted to speak about agriculture, did you? Right. Anyone who speaks about agriculture, agricultural subsidies? Nobody. Okay, carrying on. I'll come to you in a bit. Speaking of the budget, we were speaking of the budget right now, what your expectations from the budget really are. As students, someone mentioned education loans, someone mentioned the interest rate should go down as well. What else as consumers, because all of us are really consumers. We drive around in cars, we take the bus, we take the metro as well. As consumers really, what would you like the budget to come up with this year? Anyone? Yes, I'll come to you after that. Yes, you'd like to speak on what we as consumers need.
Hello sir, my name is Aditya Singh. I am from AGBS Noida. I want to ask from government and to Mr. P. Chidambaram, as a students, why we are liable to pay service taxes? Service taxes and goods like phones, cars, books, ready-mades and any other important goods only for students. Why we are liable?
Right.
We have no income, and for that income our parents also pay income tax, and only for same income we also have to pay service tax. Why?
Right, that's a very important question.
That's the point.
I hope Mr. Chidambaram is listening to my friend over here. If he is, perhaps something in the budget will come. We'll wait and watch though. Yes, you wanted to say something.
Hi, myself Shruti and I'm from MFM. I need to add to my friend over here. We are here discussing about the service tax. When we go and purchase a car, we already pay parking charges in it, and still when we park our cars somewhere else, then again we have to pay another parking charges. I don't know why is this happening. When we go to a restaurant, if there's a bill of 800 rupees, we have to pay 200 to 300 rupees as tax on it. Being students, we consider ourselves as the future taxpayers. Why we are paying the taxes right now?
So less for pizza and less for coffee, and you want to go out with friends and have a good time.
Exactly.
That's a completely valid point. I agree with that. Also, we were talking about before I started interacting with these students. These, by the way, are a very bright bunch of people who know about what's happening in the budget, who know about the economy. We were talking about the GST and the DTC. Now, these are path-breaking tax reforms, the goods and services tax that we think is going to reform the whole tax structure of the country. The direct taxes code as well is something that we've been working on for a very long time. Who has heard about the GST and the DTC being? Who's heard about it at least? Show of hands, please. Very few people. That's surprising to me. That one particular friend over there has heard. You have heard about the GST as well. Do you have any thoughts on the GST? Do you have any thoughts on the direct taxes code at all? Yes, I'll come to you with the mic. My friend over here wants to speak on the DTC and GST. Your thoughts, please.
Hi, I'm Karashma from MFM. I think GST should not be implemented so early because if the GST is proposed, it would be around somewhere around 13 to 14%. That would be including the VAT also. So I think at least it should not be implemented on students who do not have any source of income as of now.
No, I don't think that's the plan anyway, but good thought anyway. We were talking about GST and DTC as well, path-breaking tax reforms as well. We'll take a small break right now. In just a bit before that, I'll take another vote. But in the third segment, and I'll tease this right now, I'd like to speak about direct expectations of what these students and these future taxpayers, like I keep saying, of the country have from the budget. Show of hands, and I'd like a voice vote. Don't show me your hands. Say yes or no. Who would like to see taxes per se being raised in this particular budget, as students, as consumers, as taxpayers? If you would like to see taxes being raised, say yes, otherwise say no. First, the yes people. Okay, very few people say yes. Who would like to see the taxes being at the same level that they are, or perhaps even lower? Say no. Okay, that's a majority there. I think Mr. Chidambaram should know that the Amity University students do not want taxes being raised. I for sure do not want it. I don't earn that much anyway. I'll take a small break right now. We'll come back and we'll take our last segment, direct expectations from the budget in 2013. Don't go anywhere, stay tuned. Welcome back to this special edition of Campus Debate. Some interesting views coming in from the students here. Let me tell you, these are a bunch of aware students. They know what is happening in their country. They know what's happening in the budget. My friend over here said something really important, and I want to speak on that. Corporate social responsibility is something that we manage to overlook every time. My friend, say what you want.
I think in this budget, the most debatable topic is CSR, where the government has a mandation of 2% for every company with a net profit of more than 500 crores in the past 3 years to be spent. The thing is, although the Chapter 7 of the government protocol defines CSR, they are only quantifying CSR. What my point here is, if a company is spending approximately 1.5% and doing a better work than the company doing 2%, then it's all about qualitative here and not quantifying. So that company is being neglected and has to come up to the government and give a statement as to why they're not spending 2%. And secondly, although it might be well now for the companies to spend a little more and cut down on this on their expenses, it's going to be difficult for people like me, as a future taxpayer and as a future employee of a multinational corporation, to get into the field and see that my salaries are decreasing only for being more socially responsible.
I think that deserves a very, very big round of applause. Something that has been said, and something that is rarely spoken of. Corporate social responsibility is something that corporates tend to overlook. We tend to overlook as citizens of the country as well. Someone wanted to talk about income tax slabs, and I think that's very important. Yes, my friend, you wanted to say something?
My name is Rajiv Singh, and I'm doing BCom Honours from Amity University. This year, the budget should be catering to the demand of the common man, because the budget 12-13 was where the tax slab was raised to 2 lakh rupees. But the common man's needs were still more. And I do agree with this fact that this year, with the budget being formed, I do believe that the tax slab should be raised to 5 lakh rupees. Another important point which I want to raise here is that the allowances which have been given by the government and which have been presented in the budget. What we know is the fact that the allowances given to the common man right now is not equivalent to the cost of living. Cost of living is very high.
Yes.
And whatever allowances have been fixed, they have been fixed on the year of 98, and that haven't been improved over the years. So I strongly believe that the health allowances, education allowances, and different kind of allowances should be raised according to the cost of living.
Right.
So that's what I want to say.
Absolutely. I think that's a very important point as well. Some more points very quickly, because we don't have much time. I want to go back to my friend over here. You had a very interesting point in the break. Just tell us what it is.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Chandrika Tyagi from AGBS Noida. Well, when we are talking about the budget, what I need to know is the women's security should be an integral part of the budget as well. Because I think there are a lot of anti-rape laws which has been passed, but what about what should be done in the budget for it? Prevention is better than cure, I should see.
Yeah.
There's a lot of security being given to the VIPs and everything, but what about the women? What about the citizens? What about common citizens country are getting? So I think that should be
I think another very
incorporated.
good point that she made. Women's security is something we'll be talking. It's not directly related to the budget, but yes, you mentioned that VIP security. We spend lakhs and crores of rupees on VIP security. Perhaps it would be a good idea to cut security to VIPs, give more security to what the women on the road, not just women, anyone else who is on the road. You had a point, I remember. Yes.
Hi, I would like to say that saving should be incentivized. That says the limit of 1 lakh should be increased to 3 lakhs, so the people more invest in government, and they rather investing in gold and importing gold from other countries. They should invest in government schemes, and government should include that gold tax fund scheme, so that is equal to investment in gold. So it should
Very
be
important point. You do know that the import duty on gold has been raised so that imports are like curbed as well. Very quickly, if I can come to you and say what you wanted to say.
Hi, I'm Sumit. I'm from GBS. I just want to about the rate of income tax is also not a good satisfied with our economy, because I have just another thing to continue. If you can up to the for male SSC 1,80,000, I have to just add on the 2,50,000 is much more this particular thing. And second thing is for female SSC. Female is also contributing in most impact to build our India a good citizen.
Right, absolutely.
That's why I'm to can we slab to control and manage to the same.
Right. We can of course ask that question. We'll have to wait for the budget to see if that really happens. Two more important points that I remembered. This side of the audience, our defense budget has been in the news. There are plans by Mr. Chidambaram that he wants to cut the defense budget. Mr. A.K. Antony is not very happy about it. Yes, defense budget.
Yeah, what my view upon the defense budget is that we should not cut the defense budget. Actually, we should increase it, because in lieu of the recent events that have been happening, the attacks that Pakistan is doing on us, or the beheading of the Indian soldier in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, we should be fully prepared. If tomorrow any such thing, God forbid, happens, then we should be well equipped and fully prepared for a war.
But do you not think we spend enough on the defense budget already?
We do spend enough on the defense budget, but there is always a scope for increasing, like reducing the. Suppose we are spending 94,200 crores on the subsidies. We should remove those subsidies. Instead of giving those subsidies, we should concentrate a little bit more on the defense. Not only external defense, we should also concentrate on the internal defense. That is the security of the common man in the cities. The police department should be well equipped, should have enough resources to give the people proper security.
But you do understand, I'm sorry I'm continuing this, but you do understand that if we increase the defense budget, these services that your friend over there wants, increased security for women, that money will go into the defense budget, and we'll have less and less to spend on our poor, on our social security or welfare schemes. Do you understand that?
I totally understand that, but my point there is that if God forbid again, that if we happen to go to war tomorrow and we are not prepared, then the common man is not secure anyways. If we lose a war tomorrow, that's not good.
Fair point. I can take that point. That's a debatable point, yes, but a good point anyway. Yes. Sports budget.
Yeah, actually, I would like to speak on the sports budget now. As like, what are the population of India? It's 1.25 billion. So I would love to see our populations to bring up the sports budget in this year, because I remember standing in the sports tally was about 27 or something. With the population of this much, how could we there?
Look at China.
Look at China.
Yeah.
Look at China, look at America. They are all up, and where are we? So we have to look into that section, and we have to set up many of the schools which will be there to instruct us, to help us in the ways to come up.
Absolutely. I have time enough for one last comment for about 30 seconds. Who will that be? Yes, anyone. Yes, you haven't spoken at all, my friend with the long hair. Go for it.
I'm Harshvardhan, and I'm in my BBA second year. I believe that government should reduce the wasteful expenditure that it does. Like last year in 2012 and 13, it spent almost 30 crores on celebrating birth and death anniversaries of our previous ministers and chief prime ministers of the country. So such money can be utilized for welfare schemes and other such concepts also.
Right. That's a very important point. Unfortunately, this is a half an hour show. I'm completely out of time. I'll have to close the show right now. Many interesting views by my friends over here, young people who know quite a bit about the country, quite a bit about the budget. Before I go, I want you to give yourselves a big hand, and thank you so much for having us in Amity University, Noida. It was a really wonderful debate. That's all we have right now from Amity University, Noida. This is part 3 of our campus debate. We'll come back with more. Stay tuned to RSTV. Thank you much.